back, everybody. Chris Bricks here, and today is that episode. That's right. You have been waiting for this. This is week number 5 on this NifeliZ ASIL, however you say it, 1/8 scale, 4100 piece behemoth of a build. Now, we have 2 bags left, and we are getting those 2 bags in. Unfortunately, you could see there's still quite a bit to the car. It's almost like the front end caught fire and burned everything to the ground, but the back end stayed perfectly good. Kind of opposite what actually happens when supercars catch on fire. But all of this has to be built in those 2 bags. So you know those 2 bags are not going to be messing around. It's going to be a ton of pieces and probably take halfway to forever. Before we get into that though, I want to say last week, I think I mentioned there was like 1,400 steps total. I was actually wrong. I don't know why I had that number in my head, but it was a little over 1,100 steps in this complete build. So we were halfway last week, which makes sense because, you know, you finish box 1 and you're just getting into box 2, you should be halfway, right? Makes sense. And I think even on Instagram, I put 1,400 steps to the finish, and I was wrong. Hey, I make mistakes. Sometimes I'm filming these late at night, so I'm not 100% thinking on all cylinders, all right? But last week, we got all of this built, which looks good, but man, these fenders right here, complete pain in the ass. Not gonna lie to you. These were difficult. Bag 7 in general was a very difficult bag for me. I had issues. There was a couple missing pieces. There was one piece that wouldn't even stick together. Had to use super glue, and then fitment issues, which I, kind of expect because my 1/8 scale Pagani Huayra build, I had the same kind of issue with fitment once we started getting the body panels on after building the chassis and everything. So I have theories on why that is the case. I'm not sure if it's with every 1/8 scale, but this is the second one I've built, and both of them had this issue. So if you want to check out more details, more of my frustrations, I'll link them all below. All 4 episodes are going to be in the description in case you want to look at a certain part of the build. But this week, we got bags 8 and 9, and that's it. Done. I'm going to have to see how long these ones take. Last week's bags were pretty quick, and it was about just 2 hours, 43 minutes, I think was the time on them. And that was quick for 2 bags. Previous other bags were closer to 3 hours. And I imagine with this much to build, I'm going to bet each bag is probably 2 hours a piece. So depending on the time lapse and everything, I want both of them in the video. So depending on the time lapse and that, I may just give a quick commentary and then release maybe a midweek video to say, hey, here's my full thoughts. I'll just have to kind of feel it out for how long it's going to be, because I don't want to push out a 2-hour long video or hour and a half long video. I always try to keep them under an hour. I promise. I try. But we are going to move on to bag 8, which, by the way, if you're building this and you're at bag 8, don't forget this bag. I think we had this kind of bag in bag 4 where I was missing pieces. I'm like, where are they at? And it's just this random clear bag that has a number 8, which you can barely see right there. That's randomly printed on the bag. And this doesn't really tell you that, hey, look for this clear bag. It just has a ×2, even though if you're familiar with NifeliZ, you see there's a 1 there. That means this is bag 1 of 2 for these steps listed here. So there'd be a bag that didn't have any number, which means it's the only bag for that series of steps. But then it had a ×2 underneath it, which made no sense, but it's for this. So just keep this bag handy if you're on bag 8, because you will be using those pieces. And these look like pieces that would go around the windshield or frame up the A-pillars or something, if I had to guess. We'll see if I'm right. Anyways, I am so looking forward to this. I've been waiting for this for weeks, and I know you have too. So let's build. Bag 8's done. Actually, was not that bad. 1 hour and 30 minutes on the dot. No seconds at all. And what did we accomplish? You could see the front end, still completely bare. Bag 8 is dedicated to the doors, which, as you'd expect, they're pretty complicated. They're not very straightforward, as in, oh, this is an easy door to throw together. There is quite a bit of complexity. Pay attention to the instructions very closely. Otherwise, you're going to slot it in the wrong way, backwards, one prong off. I had to do a couple rebuilds, not the full of the door, but a couple pieces where it's like, why isn't this? Oh, because I was one hole off of that where it should have been to where it plugs in nice and easy. So here we go. As you can see, the doors just as crazy the rest of the car with all these arrow bits. I'm gonna try. With these cars, it's always hard to know where to grab it because it flexes so much that you don't want to bust something off, especially when it's not 100% done yet. But you can kind of see there, all that arrow right here, and that's pretty much the look of it. Crazy angles going everywhere, as you'd expect from a supercar. And of course, big old side mirrors. Wasn't expecting them to be that big, but hey, at least there's no blind spots in this car, right? And as you can see, we included these, and we have the A-pillars installed. And now I wondered what this was the whole time, and I realized this is probably the windshield wiper. In some supercars, they just stay right in the middle, or race cars, Le Mans car, they sit right in the middle for aerodynamic purposes. So that's what that is. I thought that would eventually connect up here for some reason, but it's a windshield wiper, in case you're wondering. Or at least that's what I'm going to say it is. But got a couple hints. So on this side, this plugs into like a regular, prong like this, but blue. Plugs into that. This side over here went in super smooth, nice and easy. This side wanted nothing to do with this rubber piece. I actually had to step away, pause the time of course, and cut off pieces of the end of it to get it to slot in because it wasn't working. They seemed exactly the same, but it's the prong itself that was just not wanting to cooperate. So that's one thing. Another thing is, now we have the rubber pieces here that kind of go with the hard A-pillar here. Now with these ones, you'll see it's like has 2 holes on the end, snaps on little ball pieces. Usually you see that with the steering rack, especially in Lego. And that's what they connect to. Connect the bottom parts first. I'm just going to tell you this now, because I connected the top one over here first, and this bottom piece, which is really tight over there, does not want to go in. It almost wants to bend and break the piece instead before snapping in. So I just recommend that you attach it from the bottom, and then the top is easy because it's right there, you have leverage. So that's another tip for that. And you probably want to see, how do the doors open in this if you haven't seen the pictures yet? So let's open it up. So all supercar like, actually just like the Pagani, to be honest with you. They open like this. I'll do both sides. And much like the Pagani, the doors are heavy and don't hold up themselves. But, you still got that effect, right? But as you can see, there you go. If I let go, one stays open. Just like the Pagani, because the Pagani does the same thing. It has one that stays open, one that falls like a rock to the earth, But you can kind of get a nice little view of what this is going to look like. I know you can't tell because this isn't all built up, but I guess I'm trying to find places to grab this thing. But it opens up like this, and you can actually see where the door slides in and out. As it closes, it slides on that piece there, and it rotates on this piece here. And then we have a little connector, 2 connectors right up top here. So that's kind of how it works. I don't know if I could get a good angle of this to show you kind of the inside. You could kind of see it there. You could kind of see this is so awkward, but right here. This is the piece that's guiding the door up and down. So as you can see, quite a bit to this door. It's quite a sturdy door, but technically it's only held on by 3 prongs altogether. One of them, a keep it positive, and 2 regular ones. Other than that, that's all that's holding this door together. So, you know, it has some flexibility. It doesn't like lock in to any way. I'm curious when the rest of the fenders are on. Hopefully everything fits nice and it doesn't run into the problem that the Pagani ran into, where once the front fenders were on, the door didn't want to close all the way. So I'm hoping that will not be the case, but we're getting there. We are getting there. Look at this. We just need the front wheels and we are set. We are so close to this. And that last bag didn't even take that long, which is awesome. So I'm really hoping that this last bag, bag 9, is going to be one of those hour-and-a-half bags as well. And we get a full commentary in here and we're done. Can't wait for that. But I will say the very last set of bags for bag 8, you're going to need that clear bag that only has an 8 on it. That's where you're going to find your pieces. Earlier on, when you build the first side of the door, it came with these long red pieces. In the end, when you build the second door, it's missing those pieces. I don't know why they just couldn't put them in there. I don't understand, but they don't. It's in that clear bag marked with a number 8. So it'll be for the last set of instructions, last set of bags when it comes to bag 8, just so you know. Anyways, let's get on to bag 9 and finish the NifeliZ 1/8 scale ASIL. Anyways, let's build. The saga has finally come to an end. Bag 9 is done. I am kind of speechless because this, I backed the table away so that you could see this because this thing is roughly that long. I know, doesn't look like much on camera, but but this thing is a very sexy car. I was unsure about the red because the red seemed a little bright and I wasn't 100% sure. Like, I like red on sports cars, don't get me wrong. I just wasn't sure how it was going to look on this, but it works. I like it. As you can see, we got the wheels on, which look massive. Actually, the brakes looked really big until you put these wheels on, but these wheels are massive wheels. And they make the brake rotors look like nothing on there. I feel like they need to up the brake rotor size probably by another ½ inch or so, ¼ inch, to really make it stand out on the wheels. Here's our rear view. Of course, we got the little spoiler, quad exhaust, and the other side profile. And of course, we got the full front and down the, kind of reminds me of a C8 Corvette a little bit, but this thing is looking good. So, let's have a chat about this, right? We'll start out with our usual stuff. Bag 9 took 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 34 seconds. Now, your time will probably be quicker than that because I forgot to stop the watch when, if you look at the time lapse, I did a little boo-boo up here on this fender where I lifted it and things popped out that I didn't quite know where they went to, like little spacer pieces popped out, and I'm like, where is this to? And all of a sudden it was all flappy and everything. So I was messing with that for about 5-6 minutes. So you could take about 6 minutes off, and that's roughly where your time will be. And for bag 9, your leftover pieces are these two. 2 leftover pieces for bag 9, which is about 5-6 bags. So if you don't have one of these 2 pieces, and you're missing something other than these 2 pieces, check the bag, check the box, check the floor, because it's somewhere else. Bag 9, unlike all the other bags, was not very generous with spare parts. And speaking of which, for this whole entire set, got a little more than a ¼ cup worth of parts. Pretty decent amount worth of parts, actually. Mostly connectors. You actually have 1 gear in here extra. Hopefully I didn't miss it, but it's built now. Doesn't really matter. Now, for bags 8 and 9, you're looking at roughly 2 hours, 58 minutes. So almost 3 hours. So I was kind of off. I thought it would take at least 4 hours, with bags 8 and 9 having no doors, no front end, no front bumpers, no fenders. I thought it was going to take a lot longer. It did not. It was actually one of the more reasonable bags, actually shorter than a couple other pairs of bags. So, from start to finish, if you want to take on this, I would say it's a masterpiece. This is a really, really good set. I'll share that more, but if you want to take this on, you're looking at just under 14.5 hours to build this. I think on their site they have like 20 hours or something like that, but for me, even with my screw-ups, rebuilding parts and during a time lapse, just under 14.5 hours to build this from piece 1 to piece 4100. Well, 4099. I'm just going to round up, it's easier to say. Now, let's get into the fun stuff with this car, right? So, bag 8, we already know. We got the doors. They look cool. They kind of got that McLaren-esque kind of look to it. As you can see, looks good. Car looks raised up, and we'll show you that in a little bit. All shut. They fit nice. Now, this was a concern I had once I got the front fenders on. How were these doors going to shut? They shut beautifully. Unlike my Pagani, which has one side which does not want to shut at all, then the other side shuts beautifully. This does not have that issue. Perfect. This car if you're gonna handle this car, do it from underneath chassis. Just telling you this now, as someone who has busted off more pieces off this body than probably most other builders. You can see the suspension take effect in this as I lift it and put it down. You would almost think that these body panels are glass, and that's partially because the connector pieces weren't like terribly hard to push in or super tight. They were comfortable to push in, which has its pros and cons. One, it doesn't tear up your fingers, but at the same time, doesn't necessarily hold things on the tightest. So do not grab anything by the wheel wells, fenders, even on accident. Don't do it, just don't do it. Because you're gonna break something. And it's not gonna be so much as like, oh, it just unplugged, let me plug it back in. No, something deep in here that's gonna have like one little spacer piece or one little prong or something in there is gonna pop off. And because you have it fully built, your fingers aren't fitting in there. And that's a common theme with this entire build. Very tight spaces, not a lot of room to see, to feel, to press pieces together. So get used to that if you're gonna take on this. Another thing that I noticed, so this piece here, kind of the windshield wiper. We kind of talked about this before. Kind of like that, supercar, race car style windshield wiper that goes like right in the middle that you can see right there. Well, it has a dual function too. It looks nice, you got your little windshield wiper there, but it comes off. And that's because this is your key to lowering and raising the suspension. So, I'm not sure how well this will translate on camera, but there's a hole right under, you can kind of see the tip of this right here. This is where the windshield wiper piece goes. If you slide it, it slides over to the side, and underneath is a hole, and that's where you adjust the front suspension. So you just plug it in, and you can see, we could slam it all the way to the ground. This is wheels tucked into the fenders, which actually is a really good look if you're just going to display it. Obviously, it's not going to roll because these tires are kind of meaty and they will grip on to the fenders and try tearing them off. So for display purposes, love this look. It is slammed to the ground. It looks like a supercar. Back end's still a little high. So what about that? Well, now it's hard to reach under it. We have this piece here. That's your suspension adjustment, your rear axle lift and drop for, obviously, the rear. I said rear axle, right? Yep. So, you're gonna plug it in right here. Now be careful not to try to push this in too much because it will rip the orange piece out, and it's not necessarily the easiest thing to pop back on in there, especially with this nice covering on it. I like that they did the covering, it looks really nice, but the orange piece when it pops off, it's kind of a pain in the butt a little bit. So we'll turn it, we do some adjustments, and we start dropping it. As you can see, I didn't want to pull the piece out, so I'm like, and there is your lowest setting. Not enough to get my fingers underneath it. You're looking about probably, see, you got right there, probably half a finger width off the ground. And this is your lowest point. And actually this is probably the best way to look at it, just because, supercars are low to the ground. It looks good that way. It's got a nice profile, love it. As we look from the rear 3/4, it looks good this way. I like the wheels actually tucked into the fenders. I think that's a very, very nice look for this car. But maybe you're like, well, maybe I'm out in Saudi Arabia watching this and I want to take it on the sand dunes. Wouldn't it be cool if it was a Dakar edition? Let's see how high we can raise it, because I haven't even seen how high it goes up. I instantly went to slam on the ground. Let's, get the beauty shots, right? So, let's see. Start spinning the other way. As you can see, I think that's the max. I don't want to break anything. Let's go to the rear. Hopefully I didn't break anything right there. I might have broke something. So, don't overextend the suspension. That's something I'll have to fix, but as you can see, it is, you now have your Dakar version of a supercar, so you can take it on the sand dunes and not have to worry about busting up the bottom, just like Porsche does, right? So, I will have to check out what exactly snapped and decided it doesn't want to. Hopefully you can get it back down, but that may be a later me issue that I gotta do, but oh, there we go. So if you overextend it, it looks like the piece will actually get stuck. One of the movement pieces will get stuck on another piece, and it kind of keeps it from, moving at all. So we're back to normal. You almost got like one of those drag cars sitting on the front. Yeah, I know. I'm all over the place on this kind of review, but you kind of have to have fun with this. Let everybody kind of see. And as you can see, we slammed it back to the ground. We've reinstalled our windshield wiper. And look at that. We are good to go. We are looking beautiful. Now, another cool thing about this set is actually the rear spoiler. So this is not a stationary spoiler. This is an adjustable spoiler in a sense. By no means is it automatic, obviously, but as you can see, you can adjust it. You got the air brake. You speed up, slam on your brakes, go slow down the car, just like a P1 or any of the hypercars that really do this. Unfortunately, I can't think of that one car off the top of my head that has the full-blown one that goes side to side and up and down and does all those crazy ones that you see over in Europe. But it reminds me of this because it has like the 4 connectors on the side that kind of adjust. And because I pulled the table away, it's harder to show close up, but you could kind of see right there. Now you can get, that's probably the max before it starts coming out of the slots, the holes that you have it in, but you got full air brake in, and then you can go and set it. That is pretty awesome. I didn't realize that the spoiler was going to be like that, but I love it. I think that is awesome. I think that's a nice little touch. Let's see. Oh, so this car does have gear shifting. Now, I tried messing with it before recording. I need to look a little more into it, exactly what the gears are as you're shifting through them. I noticed some are more resistant to reverse compared to forward, depending on how many. So I got to kind of, schematic it out to see exactly what is shifting, what gear am I in? Am I in reverse? Am I in drive? Who knows? But the cool thing is about this is, you remember early on when we built the interior, we put paddle shifts in there. This has functional paddle shift gear change. That's right. I can't tell you if the bigger Lego sets, I know some of them had functional gearing as well, but I can't remember if it was like a gear shifter in the middle or if it had paddle shifts because I never bought any of the big ones. So leave a comment down below and let me know if that's what Lego does. But for this set, you get functional paddle shift in your car, and it's not just one way. It's not like one side only does it. Both sides change gears, which is absolutely amazing. As you can see, I'm not sure how well this will translate, but we open up our door and you can see your paddle shift right here. It's gonna be this piece right here. And as you go, you can change gear here, click. Of course, the door is not going to cooperate with me, but if we leave this door open for a second, we can see. And it doesn't do much when you just got the car lifted, but that's it, shifting gears every time you do that click. And when you do the other side, it's doing the same thing. Like I said, I haven't quite figured out the gearing yet on what it does. If you know that part, drop it below. Let me know, because it'll save me time from having to figure it out. I could look it up too. But, I'm experiencing this with you guys. This is live kind of reaction. I can't tell you how good this car looks, especially actually on the lighting right here. It looks really, really good. This is a nice looking Technic set, and I highly recommend it. And Toy Guy, thank you. I know in that last week's you're saying go, 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 and I know you're patting yourself on the back. Like I said, you're the one who recommended this. You knew it was going to be good, and it is good. I have no complaints with the exception of bag 7. That was the only one where it was like, man, that was the only wrench that was thrown into this whole thing to kind of bring it down. Other than that, everything else has been really good, really nice, really pleasant, but also not too easy. No, by no means is this an easy one. Like I always say, try building the Stinger RS set first, or one of their other ones that are equivalent to around 2,000 pieces. That way you get an idea of how they like to build their cars. Every single video, I say keep it positive. This is no exception. Bag 9 doesn't utilize the plus connectors as much when it comes to a final connection point, but they do use it a few times, so you still have to keep it positive. But this whole entire car, you're doing 40, 50, at least keep it positives if you want to have a good time. Otherwise, a lot of these big components that attach on with these plus signs, if it's not aligned, you're going to be incredibly frustrated. So keep it positive. But overall, this has been my most challenging build to date. There are so many complications in almost every aspect. Even these fenders, it's not like they're just 2 prongs plugged in. They have like 55 pieces attached underneath them. And they still only connect at 3 points. So sometimes I'm kind of like, why did we do all that? But we did, and here we are. And honestly, this piece here, now that I'm looking at it, so these are 10 individual pieces that go on these like rubber strips, and it gives that nice kind of smooth curved effect, and I really like how that looks. That was really creative use of these pieces here, and you can see it right here. I think that was really good. The hood does open. Doesn't show much, but you can open it and you can kind of see all your steering rack and gearing, that kind of thing. One thing that my instructions did at the very end, where they tell you where to put this kind of key in places to do different functions, I don't believe I built it wrong. I went kind of back. I didn't think I built it wrong. Everything seems to be where it's supposed to be. But in the instructions, you have the hole right on the dashboard right here. That one's for your suspension drop and raise. There's another hole right before where the hood hinge would be, in a sense. And they say that you drop this in there and that's going to control your steering. It does not. There's nothing connected to that. There's no gears connected to that. It's just a blank spot and you're freely spinning. Nothing's happening. Underneath where this hood main hinge is, that you cannot access at all, and you can see it right here, that orange piece that's hitting this bar here, that controls your steering in the car, not the hole behind it. Now I thought, well, maybe I just built it wrong, but when I look in the instructions when you're installing the hood, the orange piece is supposed to be there, so are the other pieces, just how I have it. So be aware, if you're trying to plug it into the hole right before the hood and nothing's happening, it's because they marked the wrong hole. It needs to be the orange one. Unfortunately, you got to take the hood, move, take off one side, move it to the side to really access it with this key. Kind of a pain in the butt. You're better off just kind of, forcing the turn yourself, or using the steering wheel, or knock off interior pieces, whatever floats your boat. But overall, like I said, this has been an amazing build. I highly recommend this build if you're into challenging Technic sets. And considering this was 4,099 pieces, it is a 1/8 scale of a Danish supercar, basically. It's what it's based off of. For the price point, it's probably a third of the price, depending if you could get a good deal on it, 2.5 times, third of the price of, 2.5 times less, third of the price for a Lego set of an equivalent size. You're getting a lot of money, a lot of value for what you get. The presentation's nice, the book is nice, the final product's nice. I mean, look at this thing. This thing looks amazing. Even my wife, I showed it to her before filming this and she thought it looked great. The next question was, where are you going to put this? And I still don't have an answer right now. And I don't think I'll have an answer because the Pagani is still sitting in kind of one of its little weird spots because these 1/8 scale cars are massive. And I probably will be building more on the channel and have no room for them as well. So I'm going to cut here real quick and I'll compare it to the Pagani. All right. So we have our 1/8 scale Pagani Huayra BC. We have the ASIL. This one's made by Rastar, which if you want to see that, that's one of my really early on videos. I'll try to remember to put it in the comments below if you want to check out this build, which was multi-week as well. And as you can see, this too is 1/8 scale. But comparing the two, you can definitely feel the difference between them. It's kind of hard, but there you go. You can definitely see, you can feel the weight. The NifeliZ, definitely a lot heavier, a lot. It feels like more. Like this one felt heavy when I first built it, but now that I'm holding it to another 1/8 scale, there's definitely a lot more pieces that went into this one, or it feels that way because this is a lot heavier than the Pagani. Pagani's probably slightly longer. It's definitely lower. The side profile is a lot flatter compared to this one. And of course we got the rear ends. Got them like that. But overall, I would say, these are two completely different brands. Like I said, Rastar, NifeliZ. And I would say the NifeliZ does a little bit better with design elements. Making things look a little bit nicer, a little cleaner, a little more realistic compared to the Rastar brand. Now, of course, I'm going to get the Rastar brand because this was actually a Pagani branded, not like a look-alike, but this was actually a Pagani box, Pagani styling, and like the box it came in, it was like fake carbon fiber and stuff like that. It was really cool. I love how this one was boxed. And I love this because Pagani is one of my favorite brands. I love Pagani. But this one, like looking at them side by side now, this is a better looking set than this one. This one's great. I absolutely love it because it's Pagani. But this one looks better. Now I would want to compare it to, I think they have the Pagani Utopia. It's just a 4,300 piece set. Considerably more expensive than this one, but I'm curious on comparing that one to this one when it comes to the weight, quality, look and feel, details, that kind of thing. But so far, these are my two 1/8 scales. I definitely recommend this one. Definitely challenging, definitely fun. I will also post all of the previous episodes in the comments below, so that way you could check out all the different steps, all the frustrations, all the good times, even the time when I busted my knuckle building this car. So I got blood, sweat, no tears. Maybe Bag 7 wanted me to cry, and I should mention, because this is a common theme that comes up with this brand especially, is I only had, I believe, 1 or 2 missing pieces. And fortunately, because, I had the little bit more than quarter cup of spare parts, I was able to use those to supplement for what was missing. So that was good. I was very lucky. No deformed parts, nothing major missing out of this. So honestly, I got lucky with this one too. The Stinger RS had no missing pieces, and I had 1 deformed piece I was able to work with. There might be a couple spots on this that you may need to use super glue. That's fine, especially with the rear fenders here, because these guys love to pop off very easily, at least for my set. So I had to use super glue on them, which is fine. Nobody's going to be able to tell. Nobody's going to be pulling them off, hopefully. Maybe when the kids see it, they'll want to play with it and try to. But, love this set. Thank you for tuning into this. We're up to 90 subs right now, And a lot of it is because of this set. A lot of you are interested in this build, and thank you for joining along. This is 5 weeks of build time. You know, as I mentioned, over 14 hours worth of building that went into this. So a lot of time, a lot of effort, but well worth the payoff here. This thing looks amazing, and I can't wait to build some more of NifeliZ's sets. You know, definitely checking out a couple of the smaller ones as well, and some of their bigger ones. And we're going to try to get some of the bigger block brands as well. I had one from Blue Bricks that I was interested in, and I found out Blue Bricks is no longer delivering to the United States. At least that's what it says. Doesn't deliver to our country anymore. Not sure if that has to do with tariffs. We're not going into politics, but that's quite unfortunate because I wanted to get some more Blue Bricks sets on it because I enjoyed the last spaceship one I built. But unfortunately, that's going to have to wait till a later day until we can get them back into this country. But I know, I'm all over the place. It's excitement. It's amazing to have this thing finally done. And like I said, thank you guys so much for all of you that, you know, sub, that follow, that tune into this build, that write comments. Absolutely love it. That's a big part. Every time I go to check into the channel just to see if any comments, when I see that bell lit up, I'm like, yes, let's go ahead. Let's get some conversations going on this. Good or bad. If you hated it, let me know. If you loved it, let me know. I already know Toy Guy was stoked for this. I know, I just dated myself with that word, but he was set with this. I love it, completely agree with him, and I'll be listening to suggestions from him here on out as well as a couple other suggestions I'll be in future videos that you guys will have to search for. I'm also on Instagram. We got a little over 700 followers now, which is absolutely amazing. If you're on Instagram, come check me out. Always post hints to next week's builds, usually Wednesday, Thursday. I need to also get some glamour shots of some of these builds out in the wild to kind of get more pictures of more angles for you other than what you see in the videos. And honestly, you know, if you got any builds that you want me to share, hit me up in the comments and I'll go ahead and repost them as soon as I see it. Next Friday, we got this hint going. Hopefully it's something you could guess. I'm sure you can. There's probably a lot of car people that tune into this channel because the majority of it is car brick builds. But we're going to be going to a familiar brand because after 5 weeks of working on one of the most challenging builds ever, it'll be nice to get something a little easier. Kind of give me a little break, you know what I mean? And hopefully people won't be like, oh, it's not, no more 1/8. I'm out, no more subbing. But hey, if you are tuning in and you are new here and you like what you see, you enjoyed this build, you like the final thoughts, go ahead and drop me a sub, hit the bell, drop in a comment, you know? What are your thoughts on this car or any of the other builds? Any questions you had while during the build process you're stuck on something? Let me know. When people hit me up with that, I always try to help them out the best I can. So, anyways, love blabbing on. I know I always say that, and I always do it. But you guys have a great rest of your week, and keep building.